All right, guys. So my watercolor people, once you decide what your analogous color scheme is going to be, we are now going to do a little bit more practice to make sure we're ready to use those for the final painting. Okay. So for me, I'm going to be using blue and purple for my two colors. And then in between that, obviously, will be a blue-purple mixture. Okay. So since we're working at home, you probably don't have a palette. So again, just a little cup, water bottle cap, anything that could hold on to a little bit of paint is going to work just fine. Okay. You may want to grab more than one if you could find it. Otherwise, we could just empty it out and clean it out in between. All right. So we are going to be creating another value chart, but not only is the value going to be changing, but also the hue, because now we need to have this not only fade from light to dark, but also change from, in my case, blue gradually into purple. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with my darkest value again, which for me, I want that to be purple on the dark end. So I'm going to take a bit of water and mix that up for a good amount of time. So again, we have a nice, bold, dark valued purple. If you want to draw the squares again, you can. I'm just going to do some little swatches, which is a fancy way of saying blob. Okay. So again, the longer you mix that up, the darker it's going to be. So that is going to be my darkest, the purple. Okay, which obviously is very dark. It probably looks almost black on the video, but in person I can tell that this is actually purple. Okay, so purple is going to be on this side. On this side is going to be pure blue, but I'm going to lighten it in my cap, which you're going to see in a little bit, to make it very light. And then the two in between here are going to be a mixture of both purple and blue, but the value here is going to be darker than the value here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to put my lightest value in my light blue. So I'm just going to mix up a bit of blue, pull that into my little cup here. And again, the more water that we add, the lighter it's going to be. Now, it's not going to really look any different in the cup, but when you start to paint this out, that's when you're going to notice that lighter value. So you may want to test it a little bit. So once you have that lightest value, I'm going to go ahead and paint that in. So now I have my darkest, I have my lightest. I'm going to grab a bit more blue, bring it in, and now I'm going to start to add in my purple. Now purple, as you can tell just by looking at it here, is a very dark valued color on its own. So just a little bit is going to go a long way. So you don't want to overdo it when you're mixing these colors. Just do a little bit at a time. And again, we're going to add in some water, and then I want to test this. So I want to notice that the hue is slightly different, and I also want it to be just a bit darker than this first step here. So that looks pretty good. It's noticeably darker, and we can see that it's gradually starting to get a little bit of a purple hue to it. Okay? So now the next one, we want to go even darker, and we are going to, again, make sure that this is a mixture of blue and purple. For me. Obviously, you guys are using whatever colors you would like to use for your project. That's a little too purpley. I'm going to add in a bit more blue. That looks better. Okay. Again, on the video, this probably looks pretty dark, but in person, it's noticeably lighter than this one. It's just a little difficult with the video. So you should have even value steps gradually getting darker and darker, which is something that we've already practiced. But again, we're also changing the hue. So it's going to, in my case, go from blue to purple. Okay, so whatever analogous color scheme you want to use, that's fine. However, we do want to practice it this way because this is our only practice before we start painting on the final project. Okay, have fun. If you finish, take a photo and turn it into the assignment.